So wokeism is on its way out, which is obviously a fantastic thing. That brand of tyranny is on its way out. That does not mean that there are other tyrannies that are lurking around the corners. There was some news articles with regard to internet censorship in Australia. They're pushing for an internet ID under the guise of protecting children from pornography, and that push has caught on a bit here in the United States. Many of the proponents of this are people that are on the right, and a lot of this is under the guise of the new form of Christianity, the more evangelical form of Christianity. And I think this is a huge slippery slope. Now, let me just say a couple of things. First of all, with regard to some of these porn websites that a lot of the content was taken off, I support that on the guise that if we're talking about someone's rights being violated, let's say if somebody didn't give them permission or whatever, there's a lot of different ways that people's rights can be violated, or it could be civil. It could be that maybe this was like some kind of an official pornography that was taking place, but it was posted without someone's permission because this is an issue of property rights. As long as well, let me rephrase it this way. If someone's rights in either criminally or civilly have been violated, then absolutely I support that content being taken down, 100%. The other thing is that, I will also say this, that pornography is a weapon of war. That was a tool that the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force, is actually using against the Palestinians. This happened a while ago. I don't remember the specific date. I have to look that up. But it was actually something that was used as a weapon of war, as a means of demoralizing I think it was Hamas. But anyway, and this was years ago. This isn't the recent conflict that's going over there right now. So it is something that's weaponized. It is something that's used to demoralize people. It is something that is, there's studies that are done that it actually scrambles a person's brain. It's like on par with like a gambling addiction or a drug addiction. So I don't advise anybody to watch that stuff. However, like I said, it's a slippery slope. If we're talking about censorship or we're talking about internet ID, well, the internet ID idea could then be used to, like once you have it on part of the internet, you can have it on all of the internet to then attempt to control content. And then it becomes a political issue. And, if Democrats get back in power, they can use that, or even Republicans can use it for statist reasons. It's not something the government should intervene, provided that people's rights are not being violated. People's rights are being violated, that they should go after the violators, not after the average citizen that is trying to just use the computer. There should not be an internet ID. The other slippery slope with this, and this is a problem with a portion of the right, and somewhat on the left too, but a lot of this is on the right, especially, like I said, the more evangelical types, is that their cognition is running on faith. It's emotional revelation. And there's a disvalue on reasoning. The old school Christians used to value reasoning. This is after, the Renaissance, Thomas Aquinas, where he brought in Aristotelian logic into the church. And that was really one of the main vectors that then started the Renaissance. But, it used to be the old school Christians, a lot of times they were Christians, and then they were scientists also. Some of these were scientists, some of these were intellectuals in other capacities. And this was the case until the turn of the century. And what happened is we had a bad case of nihilism starting in the 1800s and really took root seriously in the 20th century. And the atheists, held on to the nihilism. And so as a as a pushback, as a reaction to that atheistic nihilism, people became more evangelical. They became like even more mystical Christians, and they've actually dropped the reason and the rationality from their cognitions. They're much more faith based. In fact, from an ideological standpoint, the Christians today are actually have a lot in common with the medieval Christians as far as their outlook on the world, their outlook on science, and etc. So, like I said, what we need is we need an infusion of reason. We need to remember the difference between justice and vengeance. If you don't value reasoning, instead of having justice, you'll end up having vengeance. And I think, and like I said, I don't advocate the of watching pornography, but like I said, it's a slippery slope. It is, if you're protecting people's rights, then I absolutely approve of pulling content off of there and also possibly prosecuting people when necessary. But we have to be careful not to exact vengeance on parts of the web that are not being approved of people who, have some moral outrage. The key to this, the solution, is to apply reason. We do so in such a way that we're protecting individual rights. We're protecting people from being harmed physically and financially, and in other ways that are an extension of the self. We still have free speech. We still have open debates on the internet. It's not being censored in that way. But see, that's the thing. If you let that slippery slope go too far, at some point, that's where it will go. That's why it's very important to apply reason. So this way we have a proper standard to go about these things. We're not running on vengeance. We're applying justice.